My wife Alana and I were in an upscale restaurant when I noticed my oldest and best friend approaching our table. I quickly whispered this to my wife. Terrence Landis is coming here. Do you remember when I told you that he was my best friend since the second grade? That's true, but be very careful with him. I nodded to my wife and stood up to shake Terrence's hand. He hugged me tightly, like a bear. It was a little awkward in such a public setting. Tim, damn good to see you again. It's been a long time since we've spent time together, Terrence stated. May I assume that this is your charming wife, Alana? I was in Singapore when you married her, but I sent a gift. I hope you enjoyed it. You're the friend who sent Tim that new pickup truck, aren't you? Alana exclaimed, standing up and holding out her arms for a hug. Alana, this is my best friend, Terrence. I managed as he politely but firmly pushed me aside to take Alana in his arms. Terrence, meet my wife, Alana. I've told her a lot about you. You never mentioned that he was so tall and handsome, Alana quickly remarked, hugging Terrence for longer than I thought was appropriate for a married woman. What brings you to Daytona, Terrence? I just bought a condominium in the dunes, and I'm remodeling it. I'm renting a room at a local hotel, and just came in to have dinner alone. Have you bought a condominium in the dunes, and are you rebuilding it? They are practically brand new. I can't imagine what can be changed there, Alana replied. I've heard that the price of the smallest one starts at over $1 million. That's true, Terrence agreed. However, they have small bedrooms. They seem tight to me. Fortunately, there was a vacant penthouse, and I bought it. I'll paint it and replace the furniture. It was obvious to me that Terrence was doing his best to impress Alana. He was always able to determine what a woman was interested in and immediately caught her main interest. Alana was an extremely mercantile girl. I had a decent income and more than a few dollars saved, but Alana seemed determined to send us to the poorhouse. We were celebrating our third anniversary, but she seemed to ignore me in favor of Terrence. It was so obvious that some of the visitors looked in my direction with obvious sympathy. It looks like the waiter is bringing our food, Alana. We should take our seats and eat while it's still hot, I reasoned, thinking that we could focus on each other again. Alana didn't dispute anything I said, but she upped the ante just by looking at our steaks. Terrence, you have to join us. Tim always speaks so warmly about you, and I'd like to get to know you better. My husband's best friend is my friend too. I hate to intrude during a romantic dinner, Terrence began when I nodded understandingly. Nonsense. Alana immediately intervened. Waiter, Terrence will join us for dinner. Could you set the table for him? Thank you very much. The waiter turned on his heel and went in search of her. In less than a minute, Terrence was already sitting at our table and monopolizing the conversation. I managed to win a game of solitaire on my phone while he and Alana were discussing everything and everything. I pretty much ignored their conversation until I heard Alana talking to me. Tim, we have 2 rooms available. Why don't we ask Terrence to stay with us? You 2 guys could keep catching up. Terrence will have the opportunity to taste homemade cuisine. His apartment will be finished in about a week. It won't be an imposition at all. I was stunned by Alana's statement. Did she think Terrence would like her cooking? I had no doubt that she would order very expensive takeaways from very good restaurants and then serve them on her best china. Knowing Terrence the way I knew him, I was pretty sure he'd be dining at Y by the end of the week. My first wife, Helen, died after 22 years of marriage. He and Terrence were great friends, but I never worried about them behaving inappropriately. Helen was as reliable and loyal as a wife could be. Unfortunately, she died of a sudden heart attack 5 years ago. I grieved for over a year before I met Alana at a charity event. She was 11 years younger than me, but it didn't seem to matter to her. Soon I proposed to her, and we had been married for 3 years. It was Alana's second marriage, too. She divorced her first husband after she caught him cheating. At least that's what she claimed. The only thing I wouldn't do is cheat on my wife. It just wasn't in me, and Alana knew it. It didn't seem to take much persuasion on Alana's part to convince Terrence to stay with us, except for the convincing amount of cleavage she showed when she leaned in to catch his every word. Naturally, Terrence didn't have to get up early in the morning to go to work. This curse is meant for those of us who don't have millions of dollars in the bank. Alana has not had a job since she divorced her first husband. Apparently, she's handled her divorce pretty well. She made me sign a prenuptial agreement that said I would never claim her money, no matter how long we were married. This suited me, as I had a stable income from my investments, as well as a very good job. When I got home on Monday evening, Alana and Terrence seemed even more friendly than they had the night before at the restaurant. Dinner was ready, and it was exceptionally delicious. I checked the trash can. As I expected, it contained containers from a local restaurant. Terrence and Alana were so immersed in their little world that they didn't even notice how I left the living room in some irritation, went up the stairs, and went to bed. I wasn't embarrassed because they didn't pay any attention to me. I was very surprised when I came home on Wednesday evening and found that Alana was apparently waiting for me. She was sitting on an expensive couch, which she absolutely needs. Terrence was sitting next to her, too close in my opinion, especially for a male friend she had recently met. "Tim, we need to talk," was Alana's first salvo. I was caught off guard again. It was just a fucking Wednesday. How the hell could Terrence do his magic so quickly? I knew he was good at everything he aspired to, but it was pretty damn impressive. It's going to cost me more than a few dollars. I was sure of it. "Terrence and I have discovered that we are soulmates," Alana explained. "We didn't want this to happen, but it did. We both feel terrible about it, but there's no denying the incredibly strong attraction we have for each other. Tim, I'm going to divorce you. As soon as this becomes final, I will marry Terrence. Please don't try to talk me out of this. I'll be damned if I'll give up my house and half my savings just because you couldn't keep your legs together. I'm going to fight you every step of the way," I said with a conviction I didn't feel at all. "It's so typical of an insecure little man," Alana said with disdain. "I didn't marry you for money, and I don't want it when we get divorced. Terrence and I both think that the divorce will go much faster if I just leave with the money I brought into the marriage. What do you think, Tim? Is this incentive enough to give me a quick divorce?" Alana demanded. "Where do you want me to sign?" I countered cunningly. "I knew that money meant more to you than I did. I'm going to spend the next few nights with Terrence while we wait for his apartment to be painted. I don't want to hear any complaints. No whining, crying, or whining," Alana insisted. I just nodded, turned around, and went to the nearest tavern. It's amazing how quickly a divorce can go through court when the three people involved are passionate about it, and one of them is very rich. A few months later, I was a single man again. The weekend after my divorce became final, I returned to the same restaurant I was at with Alana when she first met Terrence. I found him sitting at a table for two. I just walked in and joined him. "Do you want to kiss my feet here in the restaurant, or wait for a more private setting?" Terrence asked with a big smile. I wasn't that calm. "I do not know how you can be so pleased. You didn't have to ask Alana to marry you. Now she can pursue you for fraud, breach of contract, outright lying, or for being such a jerk to her." "That's not going to happen," Terrence replied calmly. "As usual, you don't see the big picture. Then why don't you enlighten me? I know Alana, and she's nothing but a stubborn, vindictive, evil devil. You didn't feel that way when you asked her to marry you, did you?" Terrence asked with a chuckle. "Think about this. What was the last straw that made you decide that you wanted to get rid of her?" "I don't know. Maybe it was because her damn personal trainer used her 3 times a week. For some reason, it worked on my switch. She had me by the throat. If I had filed for divorce, even because of adultery, she would have received half of everything plus spousal support. That's why I came to you for help. I never thought you'd be able to get her to ask for a divorce by Wednesday. It was amazing. Your shit line must have improved even more over the years," I added. "It has more to do with how my portfolio has improved over the years. As soon as she realized how much money I had, she was able to seduce me instantly. I have to say I'm going to miss her between the sheets. Using your wife was one of the highlights of my life," Terrence happily admitted. "It was her special talent that got me into this mess," I replied seriously. "You did a great job freeing me from this money, hungry woman. But why don't you care anymore how she takes it that you left her without getting married? She can figure out the whole plan. She may be a cheater, but she's smart. Do you remember when I mentioned the painting as a whole?" Terrence asked. "As an engagement gift, I gave Alana a weekend at the Ritz with a spa day included." "You're an idiot," I spat at him. "Didn't I tell you that Alana's stud, a personal trainer, now works as a massage therapist at the Ritz? She could have run into him. What are you saying? I ordered it for her when I designed the spa, Terrence admitted. I decided to visit her last night just to see how pleased she was with my gift. Since I had paid for the room, I had the key. Fortunately, my phone was set up for video beforehand. No wonder I found her extremely happy with my gift. Was she with him? Do you have a video? Did she cheat on you? I dealt with it by slowly putting my thoughts in order. You must have been very upset. Perhaps angry enough to break off the engagement? Alana was devastated by my relentless attitude. Terrence replied with a smirk. It was the first time she did something like that. It will never happen again. I agreed with her on this. That's not going to happen to me. Right now she's shopping, returning my gifts, at least in between sobbing and cursing. You owe me dinner for making her say she wants a divorce on Wednesday, Terrence added with a big smile. You saved me a fortune, bro. I'll be happy to buy you dinner. You've always been there for me. Alana has no idea about relationships, but you know what true friendship is.